Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Hey, we're going to go ahead and get our program started. Thank you so much for being here. I wonder if you could help me get the attention of everybody in the room. If we could start off with a round of applause. And if our AV team, we could turn the music down? Thank you. All right, so we are going to get started. My name is Reggie Rivers. I am a former Denver Bronco, and here is your MC today for Habitat for Humanity of Metro Denver. A pleasure to be here for the 20th annual Breakfast for Humanity. And in honor of this special occasion, I'm sure that all of you have heard of ChatGPT. That's the AI that can write anything. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, please write a short poem about Habitat for Humanity of Metro Denver, providing solutions for affordable housing in Denver, and write it from the perspective of a 9-year-old girl whose family just moved into a Habitat home. So ChatGPT wrote, my family was struggling, you see, to find a home that was right for me. And then we heard of a place so great, Habitat for Humanity, it's not too late. We moved into our new home with glee. It's the best place in the world for me. With space to play and room to grow, our Habitat home is the best, you know. It was built with love and care by volunteers who are always there. And now we have a place to call our own where we can build our memories from now until we're grown. We're so grateful for Habitat, it's true, for giving us a chance and seeing us through. Now we can focus on our dreams and goals thanks to our Habitat home that's reaching for the stars and not just for the poles. Isn't that pretty good? Hey. ChatGPT can write. This has got it going on. All right, so hey, if you have attended this event in the past, we say thank you for being here again. We appreciate your continued support. If you're here for the first time, we say welcome aboard. I think you're going to get an education about what Habitat does, the impact that it's having on our community, and the importance of the work that they're doing. We're excited to share the wonderful work of Habitat for Humanity of Metro Denver and what they're contributing to our community. We are incredibly grateful to have all of you here this morning. We know that you could be anywhere. You didn't have to be here, but it's really refreshing to arrive at this event and see all the cars parking and all the people walking in the door. And so we know that you put this date on your calendar, you set your alarm, you got up, you made plans to be here, you drove down here. And so your support is so appreciated, and we know that you could be doing other things, but really appreciate your commitment to us. Here's a quick rundown of what we're going to do this morning. We're going to have a quick check-in with Habitat Metro Denver CEO Heather Lafferty about what's happening at Habitat recently. We'll hear from an amazing young woman named Nayali who has moved into a Habitat home with her mom. Her mom bought that home during Nayali's high school years, and it profoundly changed her life. She's also now a Habitat board member. Then, super important, we will be conducting a paddle raiser so we can all get involved in transforming families' futures through affordable homeownership. Finally, we'll hear from a group of local real estate developers on how we can build a more inclusive Denver. We'll explore how land use policies and zoning have impacted two things, the where and the why, where we build housing, and what, where, and what kind of housing we can build. Affordable housing does have solutions, and Habitat knows a lot of those solutions, but the solutions aren't as simple. They're not simple, that's why they don't get implemented. They're complex, but we have ideas about how to pull it together and how we can all work to make that happen. Now, we'll share with you values around building developments that provide housing options across the income spectrum and what we need to do to address our affordable housing crisis. Now, to start off this morning, we have the lead minister of Mile High Church, Reverend Michelle Medrano, here to give us a blessing. So please welcome Michelle Medrano.
It's quite a coincidence, Mr. Rivers. I used God GPT to write my prayer. It's just, wow. So I do invite us to take a moment to just fall into our hearts and to feel and sense that divine presence within us. By whatever name we call it, whatever faith path we practice, we allow ourselves to turn our awareness towards that inner home within us, that place where we can go that is safe and comforting, that place filled with guidance, that calls to us, invites each one of us to continue to be a powerful contribution to life, that continues to call each one of us to do good works, that continues to call each one of us to celebrate and give thanks for all of the good that we see and that we experience. And so we begin this morning by giving thanks for this beautiful event, this beautiful breakfast, for all of the hands that have prepared it, for the wonderful staff and leaders and board members and all of the volunteers in Habitat for Humanity. And we know that as we gather this morning, coming from our various pathways of living, our various faith traditions, our various experiences, that we arrive in this room and experience this morning as one body, one love, one presence, here to be an instrument of the divine as we lend our support through our presence this day, through our awareness, through our giving and sharing of our abundance, and through all of the good that we can do for Habitat for Humanity. We truly are fine-tuned instruments of the divine this morning, and we celebrate this and give thanks for this. We bless this event and know that all that takes place here this day is a powerful experience that just continues to uplift the energy of this beautiful organization, and we are so grateful to be part of it. So knowing we are blessed and embracing that we are a blessing, we just give thanks, we let this go, and we let it be. And so it is. Amen.
I asked ChatGPT to listen to her prayer, and it responded with, one love, one love. You're lucky just to have just one love. Yeah. Let it go and let it be. That was the motto of my NFL career. Too many fumbles. That was the end of it. All right, so interesting facts to share about the power of collaboration. Habitat has formed some fascinating partnerships with local faith-based organizations. Habitat will be building 20 new homes on land adjacent to Mountain View United Church in Aurora, and 8 new homes on land next to Augustana Lutheran in Denver. A little bit later, we'll explain about these relationships, but these churches have this land, and they said we can be part of the permanent affordable housing situation by contributing this land and keeping it deed restricted so it is forever available for affordable housing. But that's pretty amazing what we're able to do with these in partnership with these faith-based organizations. Hey, we want to thank the elected officials who have been here to join us this morning. We want to thank Habitat's incredible board of directors, the staff, dedicated faith coalitions, and all the wonderful volunteer hosts who help make this event great every year. I want to say thank you to the caterer and the servers. We know they work very hard, and we appreciate their help in making this a wonderful experience for all of you. And finally, I want to thank each and one of you for making Habitat a priority this morning. Now, a special shout out to our wonderful event sponsors. As you know, this event wouldn't be possible without the support of our sponsors. I want to say especially Colorado Housing and Finance Authority for their tremendous support as today's presenting sponsor. Why we give them a round of applause. We also want to say thanks to Kodiak Building Partners, Davis, Graham, and Stubbs, and Roxanne and Ed Anderson. And if you look at the list on the screen, and when you're around town, these are many of the other sponsors who have supported us. And if you do business with them, please let them know that you saw them here at this breakfast. We so appreciate their support. They don't do it to get kudos, but it certainly feels good when they get recognized. So let's give them a round of applause as well, please. All right, so as I said earlier, those of you who are attending for the first time, you might not know exactly what Habitat of Metro Denver does or who they serve or the impact that they have. Some of you who do know a lot about Habitat, you might not know what they've been up to lately. So to give you an update on what's happening, it's my pleasure to introduce the CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Metro Denver, Heather Lafferty.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Heather. How are you?
Great. Good morning, Reggie. Thanks so much for being here this morning. And let me take a moment to thank all of you for joining us today as well. I have to say, for those of you who've been here before, you've heard me say it, but it is so true. This is my favorite morning of the year. I feel like we should all have breakfast together every day. It'd be so much fun.
Your kids would argue about Christmas, but
Yeah, that's true.
or their birthdays, or your anniversary, or, I'm just saying. All right, so before we get into projects in progress, what's Habitat's vision?
Well, thank you for asking. Habitat for Humanity has a vision of a world where every human being has a decent, healthy place to live. We believe that housing is the foundation from which everything else becomes possible. We know that if we are going to solve the major social issues that we face as a society here locally and globally, including hunger and education, health, crime, etc., we have to start with housing. Additionally, affordable home ownership is at the core of building equity for people and families who otherwise could be trapped in a cycle of poverty because of ever-increasing housing costs. So the impact of Habitat and affordable home ownership, it has like a ripple effect. Research from our homeownership program shows high rates of kids graduating from high school and their parents going back to school to further their own education. Healthier lifestyles for the entire family because they no longer have to be stressed about how they can afford life. And other things that are so important, including starting to build generational wealth. In summary, Habitat's vision of a world where everyone has a good place to live, that creates a permanent solution.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you talk about the ripples outward that come from homeownership. What about the ripples coming in from all the changes in the economy? How have you guys fared over the past year?
You really want to ruin my breakfast, huh, Reggie? Yes, the ripples of the economy and other things that we have faced in the market, from the stock market to inflation impacting building material costs, to supply chain issues, it certainly has been an interesting several years. However, Habitat's vision, our mission, our values, they are as relevant as ever and compel us to continue pushing forward. We are so fortunate to have an incredible team of staff and volunteers, board members, partners in the community who all understand the importance and the need for affordable housing. And so we have not taken our foot off the gas. If anything, we are pushing forward to ensure that we achieve our vision.
Okay, foot on the gas. What are some of the big projects that you guys are working on right now?
Now this is much more fun to talk about. We have an incredible pipeline underway right now. Diverse locations, different types of project sizes, some that are new construction, some that are renovation. We're also doing repairs for more than 125 households. A couple of our renovation projects, I should say, we have an interesting project. We purchased 11 row homes in Denver on High Street that we will be converting from not very well maintained rental into high quality, affordable for sale. We're also working in Littleton right now. We have 60 homes that we are renovating there and we'll be able to sell. These are the first homes that Habitat has been able to sell in the Littleton area. In our more kind of Habitat traditional mode, I was walking in with a volunteer who is going to be joining us on Friday at Miller Homes in Wheat Ridge. 8 homes that we're building with volunteers through the summer. They're going to go up really fast and will be a beautiful community there. We also have a unique partnership, something we've not done before, with Mile High Ministries. We will be working together to transform what many have called a formerly neglected city block into a beautiful, vibrant community asset. Clara Brown Commons is the name of this, what will be the city block that will include 61 affordable apartments, 17 affordable townhomes, and community space for everyone to gather. And I just want to take a moment and acknowledge the namesake for this project, Clara Brown. She, after 60 years of living in bondage, moved to Colorado to try to find family that she had lost. And she quickly became the heart and soul of this community. As a pioneer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, she understood that we are all connected to one another, like branches on a vine, she would say. And I just think that is a beautiful connection to Habitat's work, especially as we stand here today and listen to the Reverend's prayer about all being one and really reflecting Habitat's vision. One other project that I will share that we're so excited about, Aria Homes. We'll hear about this in a few moments from our partner, Sue. This is a mixed-use, mixed-income community where Habitat is finishing up 28 new homes there. It is a beautiful community architecturally, some new, some old buildings, as well as a beautiful community of people. So let's take a moment and watch a short video of Stephanie and her son, Xavier, who just moved into their home there.
When I walked into my home for the first time, it made me feel so grateful and proud. Before the Habitat process started, Xavier and I moved once a year on average. Unsafe conditions, landlords raising rent or selling their properties. It was really hard for us. Not moving again is going to be priceless.
When we moved into this house, it felt like a much bigger improvement than our old apartments, and it felt a lot more like home.
I met quite a bit of neighbors doing our sweat equity. That was really special, and I really enjoyed having the experience of building the houses. The best moment of building this Habitat house was on the Women's Build Day. We actually put up the wall to my place. Being here is going to allow us to save money. We will have a safe space. It's going to have a really positive impact for Xavier because he's going to grow up in a place where he feels safe to ride his bike. He's going to go to school with all of his friends. But I think that's really going to be positive for him and for me because we'll have a really good support system.
I definitely feel proud for my mom because without my mom, we wouldn't even be in this house and it wouldn't have been built. When I walked into my new home, it felt so nice to finally have a place that I could call home.
There is nothing like seeing a young boy's pride for his mom and what she accomplished. So I could go on. We have a lot underway, but I know we need to keep going.
Yes. So, questions now. How do you find these projects, and where does the money come from to buy the land and build the homes?
Well, I know my real estate comrades in the room can appreciate that finding affordable land in this market is not for the faint of heart. And as you talked about, Reggie, we are so fortunate to have partnerships that really allow us to find land in this expensive market. You mentioned two in our church partnerships that I'll elaborate on just for a moment. Mountain View Church in Aurora has an adjacent piece of land that we were able to rezone successfully, and we will be building 20 homes there. And Augustana Lutheran, which I'm directionally challenged, but it's just north of here, off of Leedsdale in central Denver, a place we would never be able to afford to buy a piece of property to build homes. And in both of these cases, the church will retain ownership of the land, but provide a 99-year land lease, which allows Habitat to build and sell the homes. It's a great partnership, and it's that type of creativity that we need more of. I also want to give a shout out to our government partners. One that we have underway right now is in Arvada. We will be building another 20 homes there at Griffith Station. And this was a piece of property that the city and the Housing Authority worked together to be able to provide to Habitat at no cost. So that is an incredible way for us to be able to build in Arvada, and really is a win-win in the community. Now, you asked about how we pay for this. It is a capital-intensive work that we do. And so let me just give you a financial example to help explain. If our cost to build a home is about $400,000, which seems high, but might even be low, it is low actually for what we're building right now, we raise all of that money up front so we can buy the land, develop it, buy the materials, and build the home. When we sell the home to a income-qualified buyer, they might be able to afford to pay a mortgage of about $250,000. Now, Habitat provides the mortgage with a below-market interest rate. Right now, our interest rate is just below 3%. So the family, the buyer, is going to be paying on that $250,000 mortgage. That $150,000 difference is the subsidy. That subsidy stays with the home to ensure that a family can afford to buy it today, and future families will be able to afford to buy that home. We rely on the community to raise all of the funds needed, both for the short term as well as our long-term need.
Okay, so that explains how you build the house and sell it to the first owner. But in this market, when they buy that house, why doesn't it just immediately, like the next year, it's worth $800,000 and that's what the price is?
Yeah, well, that is the challenge. And our challenge is, if you think about, we're filling a bucket. The need for affordable housing is like a bucket. We can't have a hole in the bottom of the bucket. We can't just lose that affordable housing, otherwise we're never going to fill the bucket. And so we have a couple of tools that we use to ensure long-term or perpetual affordability. The one that is most common for us right now is using the Colorado Community Land Trust. And the basic idea of how that works, without getting too wonky on you, is that the land trust continues to own the land. And that means that we can reduce that price point from $400,000 to probably about $250,000. The land trust ensures that the land remains affordable and puts restrictions on the sale of that home, which means that in the future, the land trust requires that somebody who is income qualified, let's say in 20 years, is who buys that home. It's what's called a shared equity homeownership model. And it means that the home buyer today will move into that home and begin to gain some equity and appreciation by paying their mortgage and watching the market go up, which in Denver it inevitably does. But it also shares some of that equity with the land trust, which means that it's affordable to homeowners in the future as well.
Okay, that's wonderful. So what type of housing should Denver be building right now?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I'll share my opinion right now. And that is, we need denser housing. As dense as possible to maximize the land that we have available to us in the metro area. Supply is our most pressing issue. And this is a multi-billion-dollar problem that we face as a state. And so when we think about building gentle density, duplexes, triplexes, townhomes, on what might have once been a single-family lot, it allows us to build more homes. Last year, the average sold price for a single-family home in the Denver area was over $600,000. That is not sustainable for our workforce to be able to buy a home and to be able to begin building that equity. Additionally, we need much higher density condos and apartments along our transportation corridors. We want, if you think about it, and especially if we want to be good stewards of our land and our climate and our world, we want as little transportation infrastructure as possible. So by creating that denser housing, not only are we ensuring that more people are housed, but we're taking care of our environment.
That's great. You know, some of my friends told me I've gained some weight. I said, no, I just got more dense.
We'll call that good.
All right, but $600,000 as the median price for a home, that's pretty crazy. And that's not just, you guys are Denver Metro Habitat, but this is a statewide problem, a nationwide problem.
That's right. And we need everyone leaning in. Our legislature, governor, elected officials, business leaders. We need everyone, residents and voters alike, to help us create and shape an environment in which this is possible. We also want to think about the fact that this is, as you said, not just a local issue. This is a national issue, a global issue. We really became, the affordability challenge became an issue that is being faced everywhere, when, especially over the last decade, when the construction industry really slowed down the pace of building. But we didn't slow down the pace of need for housing. So globally, healthy, affordable housing has always been an issue, which is why Habitat is focused on this in local and global ways. And the good thing is, Habitat is action-oriented. We focus on what we can solve. And so let's take a look at another quick video to hear some voices on that.
Dla mojej rodziny Habitat znaczy iść dalej.
I always said, one day my kids will have their own room, and that day came 7 years ago.
Vai mudar na vida do ser humano quando ele tem a sua casa, muda tudo.
The independence that this house brings for our family, that's the biggest thing for us.
दिनभरि काम गरेर थाकेर आइन्छ हैन साँझ पख जब बच्चा गोदमा आउँछ त्यतिखेर त्यो दुःख पीडाहरू सब बिर्सिन्छ के
Pantumweso onse walia. Tulia avanza, cero triunfana maca.
Solo es de fijar esa meta y lograr ese objetivo. Este es nuestro sueño hecho realidad.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I can now raise my head high and say, I know that I have the strength to get through this.
I have the strength to get through this. That's a powerful statement.
It is very powerful. Okay, so who is the typical Habitat buyer?
Well, we work with people from all walks of life. Some of the commonalities amongst those who we have an opportunity to work alongside is that for our new home program, they are earning between, having a household income of between about $55,000 and $85,000. Working hard, but not with an income that allows them to qualify for a traditional mortgage and to be able to buy something in this market. Usually they are buying their first home through Habitat, and for many, their first generation home buyers. Most importantly, the people we work alongside are teachers. They're healthcare workers. They are truck drivers. They are construction workers, first responders, airport personnel, restaurant cooks, people who we interact with every day, people who our economy relies on, who we rely on, who we want to have in our community, in our neighborhoods, people who work incredibly hard to do the best they can for their family, as you could hear from some of the families who spoke. And they understand that housing is critical for them to be able to have the foundation from which they can achieve their dreams. And I'll just wrap up, Reggie, because I know we're on time here, by saying, wherever you live in the world, home is the foundation. It influences where children go to school, where people work and how they get there. It influences how clean the air is that they breathe, where you get your food. It impacts absolutely everything. And for those of us who are blessed to be able to own our own home, we know that this is the foundation for our kids and their future. It is a place for us to age and feel safe and secure. It is an opportunity for us to build wealth. Our home gives us that sense of safety and stability and a connection to our community. As I said, it is the foundation from which everything else becomes possible. That is why at Habitat for Humanity, we believe that everyone in our community needs a safe, healthy, and affordable place to call home.
Heather, thank you for sharing your passion. Thank you for sharing your leadership, all this information. Heather Lafferty, thank you. Okay, now it's my privilege to introduce an amazing young woman named Nayali. When Nayali was entering high school, her mother had the opportunity to buy a Habitat Metro Denver home. It forever changed Nayali's view of life's challenges and impacted the trajectory of her future. Please welcome Nayali.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so honored to be here to speak with you today and share my story. To continue the trend of powerful mothers like we heard earlier in this morning, I'm going to continue the same trend and talk about the force in my life, which is my mother. So there's a saying in Spanish that my mom used to always say when I was growing up called échale ganas. Ganas is a word that basically translates to, give it your best. It comes from the word ganar. So whether my mom was telling me to do my homework, study hard, or learn how to make her favorite enchiladas, she would always say, échale ganas. When I began to ask my friends, what does the word ganas mean to you? I received words like courage, hard work, passion, heart, and my personal favorite, fight. My mom did everything with ganas. She immigrated to the United States at the age of 18 in search of the American dream. The dream to one day start a family, have a home, and have a better life. Eventually, I came along and we were on this journey together. Sometimes our home was a rented room. Sometimes it was a one-bedroom apartment. However, no matter how small the space was, my mom always filled it with her love and made it seem big. We may not have had everything we would have liked, but we had everything we needed, and that was each other. There was a point when our dining room tables were our laps and our seats were the floor, but we had a roof over our head and we had food to eat. Growing up, I felt like we were always running. It was never a who that we were running from, but a what, and that what was rising rent prices. Eventually, I went off to high school and I lost that ganas that my mom had instilled in me. I began hanging out with the wrong crowd and my grades took a turn for the worst. College was always something my mom was passionate about. She said in order to get anywhere here in the US, I would need to study. She said knowledge was power, and that power was something that no one could ever take away from me. How was I supposed to go to college if we didn't even have a stable place to live? My junior year of high school, my mom decided to apply for a Habitat home, and we were approved to buy one. It looked like things were slowly starting to take a turn. A little after we were approved, my mom hit a bump in the road and needed heart surgery to replace her aortic valve, and my life made a 180. I was terrified of the outcome, and I was terrified of becoming an orphan at the age of 16. Thankfully, my mom pulled through, and she was on the long road to recovery. We were able to continue with our Habitat process for a home to call our own. The weekend after my mom was cleared by her doctor to return to work, she was at our Habitat house beginning her sweat equity hours. We bought and closed on the house on my 17th birthday, and it will probably be the greatest gift I will ever receive. At that point, my mom taught me another valuable lesson. If you truly want something, You cannot let anything or anyone stop you from accomplishing your dreams. This house is living proof of that. At that moment, I decided, well, maybe college wasn't such a far-fetched idea after all. Lucky for me, my college advisor didn't think so either. My advisor saw potential in me, and that was enough for me to take back my high school career and get those ganas back. In the first year of living in my new home, my GPA went from a 1.6 to a 3.7. I applied for multiple scholarships and admission to multiple universities in hope that they too saw potential in me. Thankfully they did, and I was awarded a total of 5 scholarships and admission to many universities across Colorado. I decided on Metropolitan State University of Denver. Not only did they provide great support for first-generation students, my scholarships also covered my full tuition. Habitat not only gave us a home, they gave me hope. If we could make something that seemed so impossible possible, then the real question was, what else could I accomplish? I am proud to say that I am a first-generation college graduate, not only in my immediate family, but also in my extended family. I have now laid the groundwork so that my younger cousins are now expected to go to college and pursue higher education. In 2015, I graduated with a degree in corporate social responsibility from Metropolitan State University of Denver. In 2019, I graduated from the University of Denver with a master's in human resources development. When my degrees arrived in the mail, I gave them to my mom as they were a testament of her determination and hard work. Since then, others in my family have also pursued higher education. I am proud to say that my younger cousin Jaylene, who is here with us today, also pursued higher education. She let me know that a large part for her to pursue higher education was the fact that I did. She received early acceptance to Stanford's engineering program, and she graduated with a degree in computer science. Her college admission had a theme of having the spark within yourself to persevere. That sounds to me like having ganas. Habitat has always been such a strong foundation in my life. They have always been there when I needed something. They wrote my letters of recommendation for scholarships and for the colleges that I would then be applying for to pursue higher education. Once I was in college, they wrote my letters of recommendation for conferences and programs to continue my growth and personal development. I was also given the opportunity to volunteer in the Homeowner Services Department to develop my administrative skills. I did this for a few hours a week through my junior year of college, and it greatly helped build my resume. When I was close to graduating, I had all of Habitat's support to help me get to the next step in my career. I received assistance from resume critiques to Heather connecting me to her network in hopes to find my dream job. When you become part of the Habitat family, it's not a, here, you bought a house and we'll see you later. You become part of the Habitat family for life. I am proud to say that my work with housing continues. I'm currently a mortgage loan originator where I get to help my community accomplish their goals of home ownership and housing stability. I am also proud to say that I have been a part of the Habitat Metro Denver board for over a year. Sitting on that board sometimes feels very surreal for me to now be part of something that at one point was my saving grace. To me, that is my life that has gone full circle. So with that, thank you, Mom, for the ganas that you gave me. And thank you for Habitat for having the ganas to make a change in our community. I want to ask you all today, do you have the ganas to help make Habitat make a change for tomorrow? Thank you.
Oh, great job, Nayeli. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and it's so inspirational. And that's why we're here this morning. This is the impact that we can all have together. So we're going to do a paddle raiser right now, and it's a time in our program where we can all get involved. To start off with, on your table, there's a tin can in the middle of your table. Somebody pull that out and hand out those paddles. We just want to take some pictures to start off to put on social media. It doesn't cost you anything at the moment. We just want everybody to get the paddle that has your name on it and hold them up high. Let's take some pictures to put on social media, show everyone just how much support we're all giving here today. All right, get them, hold them up high and proud. Look at that. You guys look great. And while you've got them raised in the air, I want you to look around. Look at the size of the team that we have in this room this morning. You know, alone, any one of us can only do so much, but together as a team, we can make a big impact on the families that Habitat supports. And so I hope that each of you who just raised your paddle now will raise it at least one more time tonight. When you hear a level that matches your means and matches your commitment to this organization, we're going to start off high and we're going to work our way down. And I hope that you'll be moved by Nayeli's message that the ripples of what you do here today, like you got up this morning, this was in your calendar. You got up, you came here for a purpose, and it was to impact families like Nayeli's, and the ripples of that go way beyond just helping them get into their first home. And so as you think about the gifts that you make, we're going to start at $10,000, and we're going to work our way down. Is there anybody this morning who'd like to donate $10,000 to Habitat Metro Denver? Number 111, thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else at $10,000? Okay, how about $5,000 today? Number 143, thank you, Heather. Number 124, thank you. Number 403, thank you. Number 142, thank you. Number 134, thank you. Number 140, thank you. Was that 6 people? That was 6 people at $5,000. Do we have anyone else? Okay, 6 people at $5,000, that's $30,000 on top of the $10,000 we had. We're at $40,000 raised together as a team. We have a lot of team members left in the room. How about $2,500 this morning? $2,500? Number 216, number 507, number 116, number 514, number 504, number 115, number 400, number 353, number 273, number 412, number 663, is that correct? Thank you. Number 423, number 145. How many people was that? That was 13 people at $2,500. Is there anyone else? Okay, 13, that's 2,500, that's 32,500 on top of the 40,000 we already had. That's $72,500 raised so far together as a team. How about $1,000 this morning? $1,000? Number 314, number 165, number 289, number 189, number 193, number 290. And ma'am, I read yours. I don't want to read it again because they might write it down twice. Number 190, number 195, number 196, number 449, number 582, number 575, number 591, number 590, number 595, number 476, number 554, number 265, number 349, number 401, number 543, number 626, number 215, number 268, number 267, number 405, number 266, number 361, number 227, number 252, number 369, number 243, number 373, number 117, number 114, number 118, number 113, number 150. How many was that? That was 38 people at $1,000. That's awesome. Our math would be a little bit easier going forward if we had 2 more people. Number 344, thank you. How about one more person at $1,000? Number 205, number 390, number 257, thank you. How many was that? 42. We're happy with that. We're happy. So 42,000 on top of the, I think we're at 70,250, was that it? Oh, 72.5 plus 42,000, that's 100 and, what is it, my bald brother? Who said that? 114,500. 114,500, that's what I'm talking about. Us bald guys are sticking together. Okay, so our next level is $500, excuse me. And before I ask you to raise your paddles, I just want to say, listen, if you came here this morning as a guest of someone and you didn't have to pay to get in, hey, we hope you've enjoyed your breakfast. Really, we hope you've enjoyed learning about Habitat and their incredible mission and impact. But most importantly, we hope you know this organization means a lot to the person who invited you. It's the reason they're here. It's the reason they invited you. We would love it if you would donate at one of our last 3 levels, $500, $250, or $100. How about it this morning at $500? Number 226, number 221, number 239, number 241, number 374, number 225, number 253, number 371, number 255, number 687, number 120, number 123, number 125, number 213, number 211, number 520, number 519, number 536, number 502, number 632, number 634, number 636, number 534, number 633, number 659, number 404, number 402, number 620, number 410, number 415, number 411, number 269, number 232, number 274, number 275, number 330, number 426, number 593, number 337, number 331, number 589, number 461. Ma'am, I think I read your number. I don't want to read it again so they don't write it down again. Number 429, number 279, number 284, number 326, number 545, number 198, number 296, number 442, number 310, number 294, number 141, number 151, number 163, number 160. How many was that? 57. Now we have number 230. Do we have 2 more people at $500? We're at 58 people right now. Do we have 2 more people at $500? Number 541 and number 229. Thank you very much. That makes 60 people at 500. That's 30,000 on top of the 114 we had. We're at $144,000 raised so far as a team. Just 2 levels left. $250. How about it this morning at $250? number 175, number 162, number 159, number 153, number 308, number 187, number 295, number 316, number 321, number 448, number 446, number 327, number 454, number 280, number 283, number 322, number 431, number 432, number 329, number 578, number 206, number 287, number 332, number 419, number 596, number 421, number 475, number 474, number 592, number 565, number 559, number 567, number 470, number 428, number 473, number 599, number 606, number 484, number 481, number 207, number 486, number 615, number 552, number 414, number 480, number 487, number 619, number 621, number 127, number 263, number 350, number 264, number 489, number 542, number 494, number 492, number 209, number 122, my bald brother, that's what I'm talking about, number 128, team full of bald people here, number 394, number 635, number 685, number 521, number 524, number 254, number 375, number 384, number 249, number 378, number 240, number 247, number 102, number 104. How many was that? 74 people at $250. I think 74 people, how much money is that? 74 people at $250. Number 105, we're at $18,750. Number 160, we're at $19,000. Thank you. Thank you. 19,000 on top of the 144,000 that we had before. We're at $163,000. And we just have one level left, and what we're going to ask you to do here, we have volunteers who are going to come through the room and pick up your paddles if you're willing to turn them in. If you're turn in your paddle for $100. If you've already made a gift this morning, we say thank you for your generosity. Tag on one more. If you have not yet made a gift, we're asking you raise your paddle and turn in your paddle. Every 100 paddles that we collect is another $10,000 for Habitat, and we've got about 500 paddles issued this morning. So raise up your paddles if you're willing to turn them in. We've got volunteers who are coming through the room to pick them up. If you want to help us out, be a table captain and kind of gather the paddles at your table and hand them as a packet to the volunteers as they come through. We so appreciate you being here and the saturation of this room. You guys walked into this room today to hear about Habitat and to support Habitat, and that is exactly what you have done. We knew that coming in today, the goal was to raise $350,000. Walking in the door, we had about $216,000 already committed, and so we knew we needed to raise 134 in the room this morning to reach that goal. Well, we blew that out of the water. You guys just did great. Okay, so now we're going to do a little class project. We'd like each of you to take out your phones because we're going to ask you to make your donation now. So take out your phone. In your program or on your table, there's a QR code. You can scan that QR code, and that's going to take you to the donation link, or you can text the word HOMES23 to the number 41444. So what we're going to do right now, here as a team, we're going to make the donation that each of you committed to during our paddle raiser. And AV team, do we have a way to put up the thermometer screen up so people can see? So this is where we are. We're asking you to make the contribution that you just committed to during this paddle raiser on your phone, and we're going to watch this number go up as all of those donations come in. So again, text HOMES23 to the number 41444, and AV, maybe we can put, oh, the instructions are right there. Thank you, I see. Text HOMES23 to 41444, or just scan the QR code. If you don't want to donate on your phone, which we encourage you to do, because that's the most efficient way for Habitat on the back end to deal with it. But if you have your checkbook with you and you want to write a check, you can do that, put it in one of the envelopes on the table. And let's take a look at our thermometer again. So we can see our thermometer is growing a little bit. And so please go ahead and make whatever contribution you committed to make. Our goal is to raise $350. We have exceeded that together here as a team, and as all those gifts come in, we will celebrate and appreciate all of the commitment that you have made. All right, so we're gonna move on with our program. We'll come back to that in a little bit, but we have a panel discussion that we want to get to. Thank you all for your generosity and support this morning. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. Next up, we have a panel discussion with some residential property developers moderated by Heather Lafferty, Habitat CEO. And so I want to invite them to come up onto the stage. And while they are getting settled in, I want to show you a quick video that explains the origins of land use and zoning.
Zoning is a way for communities to separate land by use or form. For example, an area could be dedicated to commercial or industrial use, or there could be a restriction on how many housing units can be built. Zoning shapes the places where we live, but it also shapes our lives. Local zoning regulations determine where we can find housing, schools, and parks, and who gets to use them. Policymakers initially created zoning codes to protect public health. For example, to stop residents from getting sick from living too close to factories. But from the start, zoning has separated more than just land uses. It has also separated people. In the early 20th century, many communities explicitly used zoning ordinances to racially segregate neighborhoods, effectively declaring that different skin colors were as incompatible as a family's home and a smokestack. By the late 20th century, civil rights legislation outlawed overt housing discrimination. But those explicit racial barriers were quickly replaced by subtler methods. Even today, exclusionary zoning policies that restrict lower cost or higher density housing limit racial and economic diversity and raise housing costs. By driving up housing costs, restrictive zoning can exclude people from equal access to public resources, like schools and parks, and leave lower income workers unable to afford housing close to available jobs. When regions are more economically and racially segregated, everyone loses. Local economies see slower growth, and residents of all races are less upwardly mobile. And finally, despite being created to protect public health, zoning often pushes multifamily buildings closer to highways in areas with higher concentrations of air pollutants. As a result, low-income people and people of color are more likely to live in places that could make them sick. It doesn't have to be this way. When done thoughtfully, zoning can connect people and places, not divide us. Communities across the United States are beginning to re-examine the role of zoning and change the restrictive zoning rules, opening neighborhoods to multifamily housing, walkable densities, and more.
Come on up. You're right here, Aaron. Front and center. Well, good morning again. Before we dive into introducing our panel, there was a quick question about envelopes. please feel free to put those in the bucket, and we'll make sure we get those at the end. And again, let me express my incredible gratitude for all of you for your generosity this morning and supporting Habitat's work. We're so, so grateful. All right, well, I am equally grateful to be up on stage with this powerhouse team of women developers. Yeah, thanks, Rick. Give them a round of applause. And a special thanks to Aaron, who jumped in at the very last minute here when Albus was unable, because of some health issues, to join us. So thank you. Aaron's bio is not on the table, but she leads real estate development for Denver Housing Authority, formerly was with Urban Land Conservancy, and is an attorney and all-around badass woman. So thank you so much for joining us to talk more about land and land use and zoning. We promise we won't get too technical into zoning because we don't want to put you to sleep. But this is a really important topic and something that affects all of us as we live in our community and work in our community and use transportation across our community. So thank you for joining the conversation this morning. All right, we are going to dive in and reflect a little bit on that video around land use and how there are so many restrictions that, at least historically have divided us up, and we're going to talk a little bit about the impact of that today, and really the impact on limiting where people could live based on race and on income. And while we don't want to believe that that happens today, unfortunately, we know that it still does. So, Aaron, I'm going to look to you first. And if you could, with your experience at Denver Housing Authority and your knowledge in the sector, could you share a little bit more about what that means, the history and the impact that we're experiencing today?
Yeah, thank you so much, Heather, and thank you to all of you. So I actually want to kind of really draw on my experience as an urban planner, and as when I was 20 years old and in college and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career, really discovered urban planning, that how the way that our communities are designed really impacts how we interact with one another, and particularly around communities of color, where we feel safe, where individuals feel that they can really connect with one another, or where we're divided and segregated from one another. So I thought it was this grand thing to get into, but then have kind of seen over the past 25 years within that space how exclusionary it really is. So as we saw in that video, really did start from a position of protecting public health, separating land uses that feel incompatible. If you have people living right next to a factory that is polluting a lot, that intuitively makes sense. We probably shouldn't have those things next to each other, and it would make sense legally to force some level of separation in the interest of the health of all humans. What we have morphed into, though, over time, as we see, is if we really just take the theme of separating nuisance uses, if we think about it as a nuisance, we've turned different types of uses. The more we've segregated, we've just come up, we're like, okay, now industrial is away from residential, now we have commercial away from residential, now we're separating different types of residential, and we're defining what that nuisance is based on the people that would use that use. So really stereotyping, okay, we don't want multifamily because we're not trusting renters as much, or thinking that lower income people don't have the same interest in our community, aren't bought in the same way, and these are myths. There is not empirical evidence that shows that having higher densities, closer to single family uses would diminish property values, but that's something that I think goes back to as we created those zoning rules in the first place, that we're looking at things as a nuisance. The other piece is who's doing the planning. I recognized early on that I was one of the only Black faces in that space working for cities, for example. So I think that's a really important factor, but even more than that is who's controlling the decision making. when you go before a planning board, when you go to a city council, it's those who already own property and are protecting that right, which is also really core to us as Americans, and we understand that. But how do we better draw that balance between private property rights and the public good and public interest and things that, so that we can make sure that the people who really need their voices heard, that don't have access to housing yet, are not listened to because they don't have housing yet. And so how can we break that cycle? And so I think what Habitat for Humanity is doing is really critical in helping to provide that extra rung on the ladder to provide more access to the home ownership that we naturally listen to in our processes. But with that being said, we need that happening along with helping others whose voices are not in the process to say, we need this housing too, and they're not being involved to be able to advocate for it.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. That's so important to think about that. And when we think about homeownership specifically, a lot of what has been in land use policy has led to lower rates of homeownership outside of white households, and that then impacts household wealth. My understanding is Black households have about 1/10 of household wealth as white households, and a lot of that is because they couldn't get into homeownership because of these restrictions. So we've got a big issue that we're facing. Yes. Sue, as a developer, and you have been working over your career to really create more inclusive communities, to really break down some of these barriers. Can you share a little bit more about your vision and talk to this group about ARIA homes, or ARIA community?
Sure, and thank you all for being here. ARIA is was formerly the Mary Crest Convent. So it's a 25-acre property in northwest Denver, across from Regis at 52nd and Federal. And the sisters, they don't call themselves nuns, they're modern women. The sisters needed to move out of the convent. There were only 11 of them left, and the roof was leaking, and they're Franciscans, so stuff doesn't matter to them, and the building didn't really, it was what was going on in the building that mattered. So I ended up being a partner, their partner in this development. And it's been a journey. It's 16 years. I see Chris Kinsman, who's been with me the whole time. 16 years, through the first recession and then through COVID. But the last phases are under construction now, and there'll be 530 units that are on the campus. And of course, Habitat is a large part of that. But 35% of them are affordable, deed restricted and affordable. Portion are rental, a portion are for sale. And we developed the set of principles in concert with the Sisters of St. Francis. It was an interesting process for me because I didn't grow up Catholic, and they thought I was an evil developer, possibly. But then we found we had all this in common, and we didn't want to build a gated community or a Walmart, or they had a whole long list of stuff they didn't want there. And I knew that if I didn't live up to what we came up with initially as our principles, which are in deed restrictions. It's the strangest set of deed restrictions you've ever seen. No liquor stores, it's just, just what you might expect. But it was more about creating a mixed income community. They wanted this community to represent, to give opportunity for people from all backgrounds and all levels of income. And there are joint principles we have lived through, and it's been a pretty interesting experience in my life. I don't want another 16-year project myself, but I would recommend if you want that. It takes a while to do it, and you have to be intentional about it. And then knowing that the sisters were always watching over me, and that I'd go to hell if I didn't do it right, was part of it too. So, yes, that was the only religious part of this conversation. Yeah. So I had to think about that, and they are still on the campus. We built some units for them to move into. So we revolved a lot of it around food. So there's a one acre production farm. Colorado Health Foundation gave us a large grant through Regis. We partnered with Regis on a number of parts of this project as well. So it's been it'll be at the end of this year, I think almost all the homeowners have moved into the 28 homes, and the convent's been renovated and redeveloped into co-housing, which has an affordable component as well. So it was a little experiment, and we just need some more land to do those on, because it's really hard to create that kind of mixed income, deep community unless you have a lot of people living there. It's, you can't, it's hard to do it in one building, but so that's, yeah.
It's amazing to see your vision and the sisters' vision coming to fruition on that 17 acres. Beautiful. Amy, you are also a developer, and you have, with a large company, and you've demonstrated that building inclusive buildings is possible. So why are you intentional? So you use the word intentional, so I'll use that as well. Why are you intentional about this? What's the impact?
Yeah. No, I think, to your point, we've been doing affordable housing in our residential since we got to Denver 24 almost years ago. And it's really important, and we really do start with a vision for our communities. And what matters is that you're really creating a place that has a lot of different viewpoints and a lot of different thought. And the only way that you get that is by having a lot of different people coming from a lot of different experiences. So that's a really key component to creating those communities. And one of the things we knew when we were creating Riverfront Park is it was this community that was sort of on the right at the edge of a great park. It was a new opportunity to create a lot of residential downtown. If we didn't really lead with affordable housing, it wasn't going to have that vision. So our first 3 buildings had 10% affordable housing, but right into that second phase, we worked with Sue to develop, she created Monarch Mills, which really brought the majority of our affordable housing in very early in the development and really showed that commitment. And then because the amount of affordable housing that was required at that time, you may or may not know that the way this process has worked with the city has morphed probably in the last 24 years about 4 times. We quickly discovered that there was not going to be a lot of affordable housing in Union Station, which is crazy with a $500 million investment in a new transit infrastructure, that there was not going to be affordable housing in that area. So we actually worked to help DHA buy some land at a discount so that they could develop with another developer additional affordable housing that was not required under what was required of the city. And then we built it at the Colorado in our project right there at Union Station, because it's so important. But I think a big part of this too is the conversation is really challenging, like you said, around the density and whether that's good or that's bad. If we're not developing dense housing and we're not bringing workers and living spaces together, it's a problem for all of us. And that's something I think that is lost in the conversation around density and housing throughout. So that's a big mission for us to really get that out to people.
So what I heard you all share is intentional vision, that there's partnerships and really creative ways, and that we need that combination in order to be able to achieve affordable housing. And we certainly know that as we're sitting in this room with partners. So I'll put a question out, any of you can answer. What policy changes are needed around land use or zoning to make a measurable impact in building more homes and in being able to access housing for incomes of all levels? Anyone want to start?
Yeah, happy to jump in there. So something I've really been advocating for a long time is just that it is about being intentional about recognizing our blind spots and how can we help level the playing field to increase density as appropriate. It doesn't mean there has to be the highest, largest apartment building on every corner, but we also can't, especially in an urban setting, we just can't say that we're all going to have large lots and have a single family home, and that's going to be what we have for the entire city, because in that way we're pulling up a drawbridge around our communities. We also have to recognize that policies in one city affect the ones next door, that we are a region. People may live in one city or county and work in another, and so how can we really be thoughtful about that as well? We have, one example is state or Senate Bill 23-213 that is being under consideration by the Colorado legislature right now, regardless how folks may feel about that in particular, I think it is really important to think about the why. Why would we be even thinking that we need to look at affordable housing from a land use perspective, thinking about increasing density in urban, rural, and resort communities across our state, because we have an affordable housing crisis in all forms of communities across our state. And so I think it's really important that we, not getting into the minutia of kind of specific things, but we can't debate anymore that we need to address this, that some level of increased density is important, is necessary, just from a basic supply of housing perspective, because we have been underbuilding for decades in relation to our population growth, and also income levels are not anywhere near where our housing prices are. And so I just think it's important that we're not debating anymore whether we do something. We can talk about how we get there, but we can't put our heads in the sand and say that we don't all have a role to play in that process.
Yeah. So there's policy, there's also just our mindset as a community. And many developers and builders feel that the impact of what we call NIMBY, not in my backyard, sentiment, is really one of the biggest barriers after kind of the policy pieces. So how do we shift the conversation away from NIMBY to, or not in my backyard, to yes, in my backyard?
Well, YIMBY is a great group, organization. If you haven't been around these energetic young people who are the next generation of leaders here, they're not shy, and they come out to every hearing, and many of them are speaking because they live in those neighborhoods too. So they're not just outsiders coming in to advocate it, but it's it's an education process, and it's going to be a leadership and a backbone issue for people that are on in Denver, at least that are on city council and the next mayor, because we can't let those voices stop what is best for Denver. So I think that's the main issue, is we have to get people elected who are going to be making those hard decisions, and that's all the politics we're allowed to talk about. Yeah. Except I'd like to just mention one more thing about the Senate bill, or the land use bill, is that what we're doing isn't working. So if we continue it, we're going to get the same outcome. So we have to be willing to break some rules here. And I can advocate for local control all day long, but this is an emergency situation, and it'll take some kind of uncomfortable but coalescing of interests here to realize that we have to do something different than we're doing it. And I don't think the issues are so big in Denver. We've done density at light rail stations. We have group living that's allowed, but there's more we can do, and there's plenty more that other communities can do, and we have to do it.
I think there's a real demonization of density that's out there that is causing us to be unable to have a decent narrative about affordable housing and density. We saw a lot of it in the last election, candidly, without me getting into a lot of that. But it's really important that we understand how it is that we bring affordable housing to life, and how it is that we are able to make the choices, whether it's in a significantly dense project, a large apartment building or something like that, or that sort of medium range density. Going back to policy, we don't really have the ability to build today some of those great sort of medium dense things like happen in Capitol Hill today that feel completely contextual next to the residential single family that's right next to them. Making sure that we have the ability to do things like that in zoning, but being able to talk about it without all this vitriol that something more dense than a single family home is somehow going to create a problem, that you're going to have people there that you don't want, that there won't be enough parking. Clearly, we all need to get closer together so that we can choose to leave our cars at home. And that is good not just for traffic, but for the environment and for all of these things that we say that we want as a community. So we need to come up with another way to have the conversation around housing, or this is going to just continue to get worse.
Preaching to the choir here. Yeah. You all know this.
If I could add one quick thing to that as well. what's old is new again. Like, we've known how to build cities densely and happily. I had the privilege of spending a week in Spain just a few weeks ago, primarily in Barcelona. The entire city is multifamily housing. I only found one little pocket where there were a few little single-family homes, but they were also mixed in with shops. Everything was so walkable, so comfortable. These are things that we've done for so long. In this country, 100 years ago, we created this segregation of zoning, and now we keep trying to get back to, oh, right, people like to live this way. We know how to live this way. You talk about Capitol Hill. It's beautiful mansion-looking buildings that are actually 4 to 8 units in there next to what could be a single-family mansion, but you don't really know the difference. We know how to do that. We're comfortable with that. We need to not be afraid of it, and we need to challenge ourselves and then challenge those around us to not treat other human beings as a nuisance and to not allow ourselves to use these proxies of density, of income levels to actually discriminate against our fellow residents who are just looking to have a shot.
So well said. And it brings us back to where we started. We are one humanity, and we are all in this together, connected. So unfortunately, we are out of time. So let me give each of you 30 seconds. If you had a magic wand, and you could change one thing to create more affordable housing, what would it be?
Oh, there's a long list. There's a really long list.
30 seconds.
Really long list. I mean, there's certainly changes within the city that are, I think, any mayor that gets elected is going to make. So I'm not going to talk about process stuff. All of the partners, I mean, everybody that's involved with taking that piece of ground and bringing it full circle to a house, to a unit, has to step up. Denver Water needs to start waiving their fees. I mean, they need to, for affordable housing. I mean, there are all these people that don't see their relationship to the cost of that unit. It's incredible what it costs here to build a house. My son works for Habitat in San Francisco, so what we're building here is cheap compared to what's going on in San Francisco, but it's the same issue, and we have to deal with every single element of that cost, and then get people to understand that they're responsible for being part of the solution too.
Yeah, and I think I spoke about trying to have a better conversation. I think a lot of it is really informing people, but I think it's everybody also understanding they need to be part of the solution and they need to understand that big picture. There are people who need to make good salaries in order to build homes. That's a huge component of what it takes to build a home. And so, and it's not just new people coming to Denver that are creating the issue, it's everyone. And so really coming up with a way for everybody to be part of the solution is important. I'm not sure what that looks like, but that would be the big thing I would speak to.
And I agree with that as well. It's really about, again, really looking at humanity. I'm challenging every single person in this room who's hearing my voice right now and asking you to question for yourself, where's the threat? Let's take down this threat idea of affordable housing, of helping offer opportunity for other people. If it's a concern about my own property values because I own this home, well, there's going to be more of an issue if we don't have room for other people to live here, to provide services, to teach our kids, to provide childcare, to serve us in the restaurants that we love. That's going to be an issue. If you're concerned about traffic, well, guess what? Traffic gets worse when we make people live farther away and then come to us for things. So we all have those implicit biases that we need to challenge in ourselves when these decisions are being made, and think about the voices that are not being heard in those processes.
So one thing you all can do as we wrap up and leave here is take something that you've learned from this morning. Go share it with somebody else that you interact with today as a way of kind of spreading the word about how we can work together to create more affordable housing. Thank you, and Reggie, we'll have you up to wrap it up. You guys can stay here.
Well, thank you, Heather, Erin, Sue, and Amy. That was very educational, very interesting. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of you for being here today. Let's take one last quick look at our fundraising thermometer. We are creeping up on our target number. Look at that. We are getting close. And we know that some of you have written checks and put them into the bucket. And so we know that we have exceeded that $350,000. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Thank you. If I had a magic wand, this year I would not have the same motto for the Broncos season as I had last year. Sue, you reminded me of my motto when you said earlier, go to hell. That's what I thought after every Broncos game. It's like, what the hell's going on? Hey, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Reverend Medrano, Heather Lafferty, Aaron Clark, Sue Powers, Amy Cara, and Habitat owner Nayeli for sharing her personal story. We appreciate you. Home means something to all of us, and you're helping others build on the important foundation. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your support. Have a great day, everybody.